Darin, when we first started looking at what is now Ridgewood Park, we went through an analysis of the site. And would you like to cover some of the points that we looked at in analyzing that piece of property?
Oh, absolutely, Ned. Well, it starts with, as everything in real estate, location. This site is in the Glen Allen High School district, one of the most popular high schools in the county. It was also happened to be almost directly adjacent to the Glen Allen Cultural Center. So it was in a very positive area to begin with, and put it easily on our A list of potential sites. One of the other factors that comes into play immediately behind that was zoning. This site happened to have been zoned 20 years prior, consistent with what we were thinking of as a target market. And that zoning was really free of any extra add-ons and things that would constrain the site, which is unique.
Which sits today in the zoning process called proffers, zoning proffers, and the fact that it was already zoned meant that we saved about a year in processing.
Both year and cost,
yes,
and design effort, and which can extend out and is a little bit uncertain as to what you'll end up with. The other real positive factor about this site was the access to public utilities. Water, sewer, and gas were directly adjacent to the site. Having them in such close proximity mitigated potential off-site costs for easements, long pipe runs and the like that again can add to the overall cost of a community. Along with that, topography was positive on this site. Generally speaking, it's a gentle rolling site. It was somewhat cleared before we had gotten there. And it ties out into some very well-defined drainage areas around the perimeter, a stream on one side and dropping off into some wetland areas on the other. But the contours of the site were fairly easy to discern and to plan around. Yes,
and a nice, just really nice ridge, which makes a lot of the environmental regs go away because you're dealing with a ridge.
Exactly. We had some uplands that we could define, and we had some wetlands that we could clearly define, which is a nice boundary to have. And that leads into the environmental items of the site. Environmental is a key driver. Wetlands, streams, stormwater cannot be underestimated, their impact on a site right from the beginning. And this site, we knew we had a perimeter stream, but some early studies told us that it was a non-tidal stream, which is a key in terms of reducing the amount of time and potential expense of the permitting process, and also reducing the amount of constraints that are put on the available site to develop. Stormwater, we could define where our outflows were, and that helped us to come up with an envelope early on to define the site that we had to work with and design around. And ultimately, that allowed us to look at the configuration of the site very early and get a sense, as we moved into financial analysis, what was viable and what was not, how much acreage we had to work with that we knew was real acreage.
Yes, another developer had looked at the site and taken the largest of the three parcels through the approval process all the way to tentative approval. And then all those approvals had expired because of the passage of time. But the fact that work had been done gave us an unusual amount of insight to some of the constraints, what were going to be the potential problems. It also helped us early on determine that we needed to have to assemble some additional land because the configuration was so difficult of just the one piece that not only was the proposed subdivision plan awkward, the lots were awkward and the building envelopes were really bad, and so it was a lot better if we added some additional land to it in order to have a better configuration of the property.
Absolutely.
And go ahead. And also the financial analysis. That led us to the financial analysis. You always tease me about my quick and dirty financial model, but I find it to be really beneficial. And I think you're much more detailed analysis,
but slower.
But much more detailed analysis ultimately proved out that my quick and dirty was pretty close.
Yes.
And it wasn't accurate.
Yes,
I'm
and it usually is.
I'm comfortable with close. You want it to be precise, and I respect that. So, but nevertheless, the financial analysis also demonstrated that there needed to be a change. The large piece by itself wasn't the best or the optimum. Adding some additional land to it would greatly help that.
Yes, yes it did.